But yes, this is Bryant Browning and Chimdi Chekwa, All-American quarterback, and you're tuned in to Believing Buckeyes. Can you believe it? It's like already like this is last week of June, last full week of June or something of the sorts, man. They're kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. This year has been flying by, and that, you know what that means. We're getting closer to football, right? So
yeah, that's right. That's right. And then also a couple of days, I got a birthday coming up, man. Birthday coming up in a couple of days, Chum. I'm gonna need the best gift possible, man. I'm just gonna throw it out there right now. Whatever you could do, talk to your family and just make it great.
Yeah, we'll get you some knee braces and back brace, all the things that help you in your old age, bro. You're getting old, man. So
a pillow.
You're not moving like you used to, man. I don't think you can kickstand like you used to.
No, I don't want no problems. A pillow. Give me a nice firm but soft pillow, man. I love it. But yeah, like I say, the summer is kind of starting to it's early in the summer, but as far as recruiting, it's kind of getting close to the end here. We only have I think a couple more weeks left for recruits coming in to take their official visits for that 2025 class. And so we're going to get into that. But, Sean, I think the first thing we wanted to discuss is one of the old head guys, a guy that we had here on our show, Believing Buckeyes, Coach Urban Meyer, came out with a quote to discuss this 24/25 team. And Jim, I mean, basically was just kind of talking about the talent level, right? What did you catch in that?
Yeah, man, he was just saying that this current roster, as currently constructed, is probably the most talented roster in Ohio State history. That's a very strong thing to say, right? You think back and all the national championships, all the talent, all the first round picks, etc. That this current roster today, according to Urban Meyer, this is coming out of Urban Meyer's mouth, and Urban Meyer knows talent.
Yeah, right.
He knows a lot of talent. But yeah, he said it's probably one of the most talented rosters. And Coach Tressel actually kind of backed it up. So Coach Tressel was asked about this current roster, and he was just saying, like, there's talent everywhere. You just don't see this level of talent on the college football roster. And those two guys are guys that I know who know talent, right? So I'll take them at their word for it. But it has me thinking, right? It activated my thought in terms of, is this the most talented roster? Like,
I mean, we played, we played with some pretty good teams, right? Right? A lot of guys that went on and had very long NFL careers. But I guess kind of coming to that, I guess in more recent years, right? The team that kind of comes to my mind is first off the 2015 team, right? Yeah. The team that came back after we won the national championship in 2014 with Urban Meyer. I mean, that team was stacked. That team was stacked. I mean, you're talking about Zeke Elliott. We had Bosa off the edge. We had quarterback play. We had Cordell Jones returning. We also had JT back as well. I mean, it was talent all over the place. What do you think about that, Colin? I mean, is this team here, in your opinion, right now the most talented roster that I guess you know of in Ohio State history? I mean, obviously we can get into some history, but the team that you will know of, I guess.
It is hard to argue with 2015 because we saw the talent. We saw them all finish up. We saw them play in the NFL, right? So we know who those guys are. Like even some of the guys, who you don't think about, when you think about the 2015 team. A lot of talented guys. I mean, you go, let's talk quarterbacks. You mentioned JT, Cordell, Braxton Miller's on that roster, right? The defensive backs, guys like Garyon Conley, Denzel Ward. It's just across the board, Malik Hooker.
Right.
Like it was just talent. I'm talking about first round talent from starters to backups to young guys who are developing. So that's tough.
Yeah,
it's tough to say this roster is more talented than that roster. But the guy who coached that roster, Urban Meyer, who came on the show and talked about how he really regretted that loss. He thinks he's still to this day probably one of his biggest regrets that he still thinks about is that loss to Michigan State that year.
Yeah.
So he would know. He would know probably better than us. But it's hard for me to argue that this team is more talented, but they're definitely up there. 2015.
Yeah, the guy I just want to shout out real quick on our offensive line was Taylor Decker, man. Still getting it done for the Detroit Lions. Part of that team as well, and fantastic player, man. But let's talk about, I mean, what does that mean, though, right? I mean, you have former coaches. I think everyone was in town for like a golf outing or something, so everybody kind of had like some snippets. I think Urban lives here, I believe, and Tressel's not too far away as well. But everyone was in like together at a golf outing when that statement is made. What does that mean for this team? I mean, you got, former guys, kind of head coaches coming out, like we say, guys who really know and understand talent, coming out and stating, this is probably the most talented team ever. What does that mean for this program and Coach Day and his 24 football team?
Yeah, I mean, it's great to have the talent, right? So it means, one, they did what they're supposed to do. They did what they're supposed to do in the offseason. The coaches did what they're supposed to do. The boosters did what they're supposed to do, right? The fans did what they're supposed to do. But at the same time, I don't know how helpful it is for a former coach who was the coach, legendary coach before Day, to come out and say, this is the most talented roster that I've ever seen. I don't know how much that benefits, because at this point, that means a loss to Michigan this year. And I mean, realistically, losing 4 times in a row would probably have everybody up in arms anyway. But considering the level of talent, like there's not going to be a lot of excuses given to this coaching staff. Not that they're looking for it, right? But it's just the expectations that are already super high at Ohio State are even higher this season. And this season you have a playoff, right?
Yeah.
So the format is different. You can't, win the regular season and then expect to win one game and be in the championship. It's a playoff. So who knows? Anything could happen in one game. But that the expectation level is at Ohio State. It should be the one playing for that national championship at a minimum. So that's going to be some added. I mean, coaches are going to say it's not additional pressure, and they shouldn't be thinking about it in that way. But there's some pressure there, right? To be able to carry this and bring all of these things together, all of these players, these talented players together, to make the most of what they currently have. And I think they got the staff to do it. But there's definitely some even higher expectations, which is hard to even imagine when you talk about Ohio State.
Yeah. So just real quick, I just want to shout out one team, right? Just because for historical reference here, the 68 team, Ohio State 68 team, they went on to be national championships. They fielded 11 All-Americans and 6 first-round draft picks on that team. I don't think it all was the same draft, but that kind of at least that team was spearheaded on offense by our quarterback Rex Turn. Defensive leader on that team was Jack Tatum. I'm pretty sure Jack Tatum had one more year after the 68 year, but they wanted to give him a shout out, because this is college football. History matters, right? But
so
I want to say something. Go ahead.
We don't have a team that was.
Man, let me tell you about the 2010 team, man. The team that we had the pleasure of being our 5th year on. I was a captain on that team. That team made you an All-American, man. We had a lot of great guys. This can kind of go get me to my point, though. We had a lot of great guys. We won a lot of games, right? And then what we do? We lost one game, right, to Wisconsin on the road. It was a close game. We didn't get destroyed or blown out or anything like that. But because of that, we don't make it to the national championship. Right back then, no playoff. It's just a game. 2 teams that was undefeated, and that's how it goes, right? You're in a big conference, you're undefeated. Auburn and Oregon goes on to the national championship. Auburn wins the game. And, I mean, Cam Newton was already having a fantastic year. But that definitely helped out the legend Cam Newton in college football. But that kind of brings me to my point here, though. It's like I said, we was a team with one loss, right? We get one loss. We don't make it to the big dance. The teams that we're discussing, right? The teams that we're talking about, the 2015 team after the national championship, one loss. They don't make it to the big dance, right? Other teams along that path, they kind of have to go through that same thing. Just due to college, the way college football is played, you lose one game, and that potentially has the chance of essentially taking the opportunity away of being a national championship team. And obviously, I mean, it's football, right? I mean, obviously, you're going to go out there one Saturday, and things are just not going to be clicking, right? Whether it's whether it's one of your guys that you are counting on is injured or a little nicked up, or for every reason the ball is just not bouncing your way, and you end up in a dogfight, and then you end up losing that game and do that one loss It's kind of like you could be out. Before the system now is a playoff. Every week was kind of like a playoff game, right? You didn't take care of your business one week against Michigan State, and that could essentially change the whole narrative of how good your team was, right? But now we got the playoffs, right? We got 12-team playoffs. So in my mind, with that 12-team playoffs, you could, I'm not going to say relax, right? Because you're never going out there trying to lose a game. But there's a good chance if you're a team with as much talent as Ohio State, you could definitely lose most likely one game, right? The chances of there being 12 teams in all the Power 5 conferences being undefeated is not going to happen, right? So you probably could lose a game. And if you're really talented, the way things kind of shake out, you may could lose 2 games. I mean, it's not crazy to see a team in the top 10 at the end of the season with 2 losses on their record. So it kind of changes the landscape a little bit that, if you go out and you, for a reason, you just don't have your best day, one of your guys is down, maybe your quarterback is down, somebody that's very important to the team is down, so you don't go out there and play the best game possible. You still get that opportunity. You still get that chance due to the playoffs. That's one thing I would say I like about the playoffs is that you get that opportunity to basically run it back and still come out to be a national championship team.
Yeah, I think being the most talented team week 1 really does a disservice to you. Because no matter what year it is, the team that wins a national championship is the team that got better during the year. It's a team that always improved during the year. You go back to our year, Auburn wins a national championship. They have Cam Newton. Cam Newton had a crazy, impressive year. Auburn was not the best football team. No. They just were not the best football team. But as that year went on, really carried by Cam Newton, they got better and better and better and better. And nobody can convince me otherwise, week 1, week 2, week 3, that we were not the best football team in the country. But it wasn't until that Wisconsin loss that I think we really took another jump in terms of improvement, because we figured out, okay, there's some stuff that we still need to work on. And I think those teams who understand going in, like, we are not the national championship team now. We have a goal to win our division, our conference, or whatever, and then put ourselves in position. And they have the leadership to hold themselves accountable and continue to improve. Those are the teams that ultimately put themselves in position. So I do think, like, as you mentioned, like, with the playoff format, there could be a scenario where you lose a game, you still put yourself in position to win it all. And honestly, it gives everyone an opportunity to learn from mistakes and improve, get better, and put themselves in position. And that's the thing for Ohio State, man. The talent level, and even to talk about their level of talent. Even if you try not to believe that, like, when you hear it, you heard it, right? And you have to create an environment. The coaches have to create an environment where these players understand that they're not good enough to win week 1 or week 2 or week 3, and they gotta get better, because it's really not just the talent; it's maximizing that talent and bringing that talent together. And they do got a veteran group, man. So they have all the pieces, but now it's the process. The process is the biggest thing. So I'm just hoping that they understand what's needed and what's required in order to put themselves in that position to be the best team.
Yeah, and that's that's ball, right, man? You got to improve, and I think that's one thing that if it's one thing that we have been critical of on Coach Day is the team not improving throughout the year, right?
Yeah.
The issue that we start seeing, like you say, week 1, week 2, week 3, we're winning games and winning a lot of points, but it's still an issue. And then kind of that issue kind of continues until we get to a team where the talent level kind of evens up, right? And then that issue comes out, stick its ugly head out, and we lose the game due to something that we all, like, but when I say we all, people outside the team have been identifying this issue most likely for weeks into the year. So, but, things are different now. The staff is different, right? Coach Day gave up calling plays, right? And so now we'll see. We'll see if we are seeing that come out that's talented. We identify some issues, we improve, and get ourselves to a great opportunity to get into the playoffs and win that national championship. Just real quick though, one thing. I'm sorry. Is it national championship or bust?
Is it national championship or bust? I think it is national championship or bust. I think it's national championship or bust. And I will go. I mean, it's easy to say national championship or bust. I would go a little step further in saying and piggyback what you just said. In that, in the past, what we've seen is that the issues that we see during the season, they got fixed in the offseason. Defense isn't playing up to par. Get a new defensive coordinator. Fix it in the offseason. Give up a bunch of explosive plays against Michigan and in the playoffs. All season, we fix it, not giving up a bunch of big plays on defense. Offensive line is a little bit of a mess. Likely fix that in the offseason. The measurement of this team this year is week 1, what's the issue? Does that get fixed week 2? Week 2, what's the issue? Does that get fixed week 3? If I see that happening, if I see that pattern, they're a championship team. And honestly, just because you're a championship team doesn't mean you don't lose. You know, it may not happen. You may not get all the way. But if they're able to week identify the issue, solve that issue, and continue to improve, honestly, that's all I can ask for. That means they're doing everything they need to do. Sometimes the ball still doesn't bounce the right way.
That's right.
But they'll put themselves in position to be able to compete for a national championship. And that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah. And one thing, I just want to kind of throw this out. Like I said, it was a week of quotes for here around here. But James Leonidas did an interview. We kind of talking about it a bit before the show. And they asked him about that talent level, right? And he shout out some teams. He talked about the 05 year. That was his true freshman year in college. The 06 year, go to the national championship. He brought the 15 team, brought up the 19 team as well. And his comment was like, yeah, whatever, that's fine and dandy, whatever, but we need to be the toughest team, right? He said, basically, we need to be the team that goes out there physically and mentally be tougher than their opponents week in and week out, and then that will get us our goal of being a national championship. And obviously, like I said, once they get to a point, the talent's the talent, the team is the team. You have to go out there, execute plays, time and time again, step up in big moments if you want to be a national championship team. Talent alone is not going to get you there, right? I think we all should agree to that. Yeah, so, but like I say, this is recruiting for the summer is kind of dwindling down, right? This past weekend, we had some commits. We had Bogdan Miller, big wide receiver, 6'4" wide receiver out of Mansfield, Ohio. We had Zion Grady, a defensive end out of Alabama. I believe he may have flipped over from Alabama to Crimson Tide to come to Ohio State. And the one that got me most excited, a big guy in the trenches from the state of Ohio, a local guy, obviously in Westerville, Ohio, which is a suburb of Columbus, Jake Cook, offensive lineman, like I say, since I live in Westerville, so he's fairly close to me as well. So that's the one I'm super excited. Shout out to Jake, man. So he was committed to another school, I believe Louisville, and he got an offer from Ohio State late, I think a week or two ago, took his visit, and he came on over to the good guys, man. So super proud of Jake, man. And yeah, man. So what do you think about recruiting so far? Obviously, this is another offensive lineman. We need offensive lineman. I think this is only the second offensive lineman to commit. Carter Lowe out of the Toledo area off the tackle as part of this 25 class as well. But what do you think about recruiting so far? And I guess it's getting down to it. Like I said, we're getting towards the end. Who else is out there that you think, that you want to see signed to Ohio State?
Yeah, they got some guys. I mean, we're talking about the best, potentially the best team ever. Mm-hmm. They got an opportunity to pull off probably one of the best recruiting classes ever. You just look at the cornerbacks. They already got the top 2 ranked cornerbacks in the nation committed. And then you had Dorian Bruintown this past weekend, who was like ranked number 4, I think, in the nation. Has some versatility. You could play corner. You could probably play in the slot. You could play safety. So that alone, not to mention Fahim Delane, the safety as well. And there's still Trey McNutt out there that's from Ohio, right? So just looking at the DBs alone, right, could be one of the greatest hauls ever when it comes to recruiting. But across the board, bunch of top talent. I'm really locked in and focused on the offensive line.
Yeah.
I'm really locked in on the offensive line. You got the kid David Sanders, who's a top recruit. I know there's been a lot of talk about Tennessee as one of the schools that he's prioritizing. The hope is that Ohio State could land him. But we need an offensive lineman, man. The great equalizer when it comes to all this talent we talk about. All this talent. We got a ton of talent. The great equalizer, because it's football, is somebody getting punched in the mouth. Like that's
right.
At the end of the day, right in the center. If you can't hold up in the middle, then that equals that negates all the talent that's around.
Yeah, and I just have to agree, right? I mean, I feel like I think I kind of discussed it last show that essentially the last handful of years, the years we've been losing to Michigan, essentially it's almost been like a no-brainer. Who's the better offensive line unit, Ohio State or Michigan? It's like a no-brainer that is Michigan. And to me, that's just, I mean, honestly, it doesn't sit right with me, right? I mean, I feel that the best talent is in Ohio, right? When it comes to big guys, fast guys. So Michigan is getting recruits wherever they come from. I don't know where those guys are from. A lot of guys are not the biggest names guys, but they kind of come in and they have developed and they've been winning national awards and all the things of the nature about how good their offensive line is. They're running the ball over everyone. The protection is always solid. And, they've just kind of been getting a lot of publicity due to their play. And it's time for that to kind of, reset. A guy like Jay Cook, that's what really makes me excited about a guy like Jay Cook. Like I say, he's an Ohio kid, right? So I don't know Jay Cook personally, but I know that most likely he kind of grew up looking at Ohio State guys, watching them perform, hoping one day once he went to high school and he seen the size and where he was going to be at, that one day he had a chance to be a Buckeye. So a guy like that, he's going to come in and he's going to do whatever it takes for the team. Like, right? And then for the team, obviously to be the best team you could be, you have to be the best player you could be. And he's going to go in there, and I just know he's going to soak in that knowledge, do whatever it takes, change his body if he need to get stronger, faster, smarter as a player, wherever it may need be. He's going to go in with that attitude that that's what he needs to do so he could go out there and represent his state. When Coach Meyer was on the team, he made the statement that when last time they won the national championship in 2014, all the starting five off the line was all from the state of Ohio. Now, on the team, he kind of was talking about, the Atlanta area and how much talent, and you can make a whole football team in that circle down there in Georgia. But ain't that something, right? That means something, man. That the last time Ohio State was able to win it all the guys was from Ohio. And it's just, to me, it means a lot. We talking about building that fist around Ohio. These are the guys you need to get when you need them. You're going out there, you're trying to get big guys like with David Sanders, and kudos to him. I hope that was going to be my guy that we still need to bring in for the offensive line. I think that Ohio State had maybe the women's softball team advertising for them and everything on their page and everything, trying to get the big guy to come to Ohio. Fine and dandy. But you need guys like that, like a Jay Cook, who represents the state, proud of his state, proud of Ohio State, to kind of go out there and get the job done and know how much it means to beat the team up north and be dominant against a Michigan.
Yeah. I mean, look, chase some top tackles, that potentially can come to Ohio State and be top round picks. But at some point, you need some dogs. You need to go get some dogs, especially on the interior, man. Like, you're not going to be able to land all these top guys. And look, man, at the end of the day, it's not too many people who are 6'4", 6'5", 300 pounds. Like, this is not that many people walking the earth, right? So get the guys that you can get, develop them, and, if they're locked in and they want to be a part of this program and they want to develop, I mean, you're going to have an opportunity to do it. We've done it in the past. So, that's my focus is, are they going to be able to continue to get guys at that position? I'm watching Sanders closely. Where does he end up? But overall, man, that's going to be the big thing. Even this team this year, and I think they have that group this year. I think, we saw the shuffle or whatever last year. I think they have even that right side. I think it's them. I think they need to set their starters. Set their starters. Let the team, that group build as a unit and have your contingency. Okay, if a guy gets hurt, we have a guy like Fry who can move around, and then we have our backup coming to play tackle, or we have a backup. I think once they have those 5, 6 guys, whatever is set, we're ready to go. And I think that was the big issue last year. I think that issue should be solved early on in camp this year, and we move on from there. But I think that competition against Michigan really starts with the competition, the real competition, and those young guys see that game and see what Ohio State's all about, and that's going to help with that recruiting moving forward.
Yeah, and I have to agree with that 100%. You win up front. This is football. I mean, everything, all the fancy stuff, all our great wide receivers and everything of that nature, fantastic. Our running backs will be great this year, and Chip Kelly's offense and running the ball. It all takes place. It all happens, all in the trenches, and we have to be one of the top units in the country if we want to kind of get to that goal of being not just a talented team, but also a national championship team. But yeah, that's our show for today. We like to end all our shows with an OH.
Ayo.
Go Bucks, and we'll catch you guys here soon.
Go Bucks.